Hey everyone, Mr. Mistake here. This is a guide for round 4 of the 2022 Manufacturer Series Stage 2, taking place at Laguna Seca with Group 4 cars. So let's go ahead and take a look at the race details. 14 lap race, fuel and tire are ×1, racing hard and soft tires are available, but only the racing hard tires are required, and there is one mandatory pit stop. So to avoid getting a 1-minute penalty after the race ends, you need to use the racing hard tires for at least one lap and make one pit stop. And I just want to make a quick note, when I recorded all this, the game version was 1.20 as an update just came out, so we should now be in 1.21. We'll talk about the strategies later, but let's go ahead and get started with the lap guide. Make sure you qualify on the racing soft tires. Bring yourself towards the right side of the track and brake just before you reach the 3 board that is on the right. Full braking power for a short while. Start to turn in as you're easing off of the brakes and try to get the car pointed towards the next section of the track before you start to fully accelerate. Then use around 50% braking just as the gravel on the left starts and start to turn in almost immediately. Just trying to maintain your momentum. Laguna Seca is all about momentum. Then use a little bit of braking and turn in before the 1 board that is on the left. Once again, just trying to maintain as much momentum as possible, trying to get on the throttle as early as possible. Then brake just after the 3 board that is on the right. You want to be a little careful through here. Take your time going through this turn as it's a little longer drawn out. If you're impatient through this turn, you will end up touching the sand, which will cost you a bit of time. Then brake as you reach the 2 board. Depending on the car that you're using, you might need to brake a little earlier. Use around 50% braking power and get on the throttle right as you hit the apex. For that turn, you need to be a little brave and hopefully not touch the sand. But anyways, brake before the 3 board for the corkscrew. Brake in a straight line, full braking power. Start to turn in at the 1 board. Take advantage of the curves and you can be pretty aggressive on the throttle, doing a little bit of throttle control, but you want to try to exit with as much speed as possible. A little bit of throttle and braking control through here, and then brake just as you reach the 2 board. This one is a little tricky. Take your time making your way through the turn, slowly easing off of the brakes and carefully getting on the throttle. And finally, brake just as you reach the 3 board. So full braking power for a short while. Carefully turn in, don't hit the sausage curves, and quickly get on the throttle. And that is it for the lap guide. So in a moment, we'll go ahead and get started with the race strategies, which is going to be pretty straightforward. And let's go ahead and get this started. So 14 lap race. Fuel and tire are ×1, racing hard and racing soft tires are available, but you need to make 1 pit stop and you need to use the racing hard tires for at least 1 lap. So the strategy is going to be really straightforward. It's going to be going something like this. If you're starting in the front, start on the racing soft tires, use them for as long as you can, which should be 13 laps. At the end of lap 13, you pit on over to switch over to the racing hard tires and you do only 1 lap on the racing hard tires. If you're starting in the middle or in the back of the pack, start on the racing hard tires, use them for 1 lap, so at the end of lap 1, you pit on in, switch over to the racing soft tires, and then you'll do 13 laps on the racing soft tires. And in terms of general strategy, that's pretty much it. It's really straightforward. Fuel is not an issue. Tire should not be an issue for most, if not all, cars on the racing soft tires. So your main goal is to try to do 13 laps on the racing soft tires and only 1 lap on the racing hard tires, or vice versa. So we'll skip on over towards the end of lap 13. So we do have some tire wear on the front tires, but because of the new tire wear update and how it works, these tires are still in pretty good shape. But anyways, end of lap 13. Let's go on over and switch to the racing hard tires to fulfill our 1 pit stop requirement and the racing hard tire requirement. And your pit loss is around 34 seconds for a tire change. And funny story, so back in GT Sport, there was a race similar to this here at Laguna Seca where there was only one tire requirement, but back then, for a while, the penalty for not pitting or not using the required tires was 20 seconds. And because the pit laws at Laguna Seca is so long, it was actually faster to take the 20-second penalty than to pit on over to get the required tires. So if you wonder about the whole penalty system and how you get the 1-minute penalty for not doing the requirements, well, there you go. It used to be 20 seconds, but because a bunch of us decided to be naughty, it was increased to 1 minute. But anyways, we're now on the racing hard tires for only 1 lap, and I would highly suggest doing a couple of practice laps on the racing hard tires so you can get an idea about how the car behaves with those tires, because the racing hard tires, it feels like there's no grip at all. Especially if you're starting on the racing hard tires, your tires will be cold, so there's not going to be that much grip, so you want to drive pretty carefully. Just try not to push too much so you don't end up building sandcastles. And this run was 21 minutes and 3 seconds long for 13 laps on the racing soft tires and only 1 lap on the racing hard tires. But that's going to pretty much be it from me. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now in a moment, so hopefully this guide helps you out a bit, and if you like this video, you can press the like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I do have a memberships program theme that you can check it down below if you want to further support this channel. But that's going to be it from me. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. So this is Mr. MCA. Have a good race and have a good weekend, and I'll see you in the next video. By the way, racing hard tires, use them for 1 lap and do your mandatory pit stop. Just please don't forget that. Okay, bye.